pop up with. Um, for practice today, I don't really have a specific prop usage plan. I've got a block here because I do want to use that for um, maybe for half moon. But if you have a chair or a couch or anything around, you can always use that kind of like we used to use the bookshelves. The block might even be low for that, depending on how your hammies are feeling today. And not for any specific reason, I just want to because we played with it a little bit last week, and I might as well kind of continue on that line. We're in 2021, and it looks suspiciously like 2020 in many ways. Which is what we knew would happen. And we knew that things wouldn't be like this magic unveiling of everything that went on last year, but it's kind of nice to move into that symbolic shift of a new beginning, right? Which we know, and we talk about this pretty much every year, and it's just like how, like if you have the curmudgeonly friend who's like, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day because I think you should show love to your partner all the time, and I don't celebrate Thanksgiving because we should be thankful all the time. It's like, yeah, of course we should, and including on this day. And including at this symbolic shift of this like Western calendar year that we have going on, it's just this really nice reminder and reinvigoration of this opportunity that we always have in order to reinvest, renew, refresh the way that we're living our lives, to clear out space and make room for what's new. And it is one of my favorite times to return to my favorite Yoga Sutra, which is the very first one. And you know, the Yoga Sutras, you open the book, and every time you open the book, what it says to start off with is, the practice of yoga begins now. It begins now. And you may have had like a pre-studying, or like obviously the things that have happened already in our life have still happened and are still informing what we're moving forward with, but we have the opportunity to begin again at any point, including on January 4th or February 7th, when you realize you forgot about all those things you promised yourself about now. But we always have that freedom and that new space. So we'll begin with face brushing. Take your index finger and thumb together, the squishy spot at the bottom of your thumb. Begin brushing outwards towards your temples. And from the sides of your nose out to your temples, on your cheekbones. From the temples down to your chin, along your jawline. From the sides of your nose down to your chin, along your laugh line. And bringing your fingertips underneath and behind your ears, feeling for the soft spot and the bony spot that's up above that, and then lifting upwards. Just kind of observing any small shifts that might take place in your posture, the sensations around your neck and shoulders. Seeing if you can keep that lift as you rest your hands down comfortably in your lap. As you close your eyes, starting to settle into a steady flow of breath, I invite you to set an intention for your practice. It could be an attitude or a feeling. Maybe it's a physical kind of intention, something in the body that you'd like to focus on. Maybe you want to just be really dedicated to your breath. And taking a big breath in through your nose. Go ahead and let out a big loud sigh. Again, like that. For 3 ohms. How's it going? And if you're comfortable the way that you're seated, go ahead and stay there. If you want to switch the cross of your legs, if you do have them folded up like this, you might do so. Hey, sweetheart. Thank you. Take your left arm and reach it out to the left side and relax your right ear over towards your right shoulder. Speak. Quiet. Just go ahead and look forward. Maybe even wiggle out your left fingertips. Relax your chin. One more exhale. And then start to take your head back up, bring your left arm in, and then reach your right arm out to your side as you relax your left ear over towards your left shoulder, relaxing your chin, maybe wiggling your fingertips out just to be sure that you've got some nice long space across that arm and the side of your neck. One more exhale. And then bring your head back into the center and your hands back in. Hi, thank you. And then you're going to take your right arm out to the right and walk it out on the floor, and then reach your left arm up and over. Rest your left hip down and your left shoulder blade forward, creating some side stretch. You can even look downwards towards the floor. Sometimes that feels a little bit better in the neck. One more breath out. Lift yourself up, walk the left fingertips out and reach your right arm up and over your nose. So it's just kind of in front of your face, less so than like right up on top of it. That way you can rest that shoulder blade forward and relax your right hip downwards. Maybe even looking down away from that arm. Maybe wiggle your fingertips out if you want to make sure you've got a lot of power through that stretch. One more exhale. And then coming on up, I'm going to take yourselves all the way down into a C. If you've been sitting up on anything, go ahead and set it off to your side. And then draw your legs in, giving yourself a little rock about, allowing your back to massage into the floor. A little bit of movement of the leg bones inside of the hip sockets. Keep holding onto your right leg. Take your left foot down and then slide your left foot out as far away from you as you can, even if that means that you should really hold on to the back of the knee rather than trying to hold on to the right knee. And then see if you can flex your right or left foot. The leg that's extended, maybe you feel the leg getting a little bit longer, like you're pushing out through the sole of that foot, breathing in, breathing out. And start to slide your left leg in. We'll hold on to that one and then extend your right leg out long. So we're trying to open up the front of the hip and relax any tension, find some space there. Pushing out through the sole of the right foot, you might be holding on behind this left leg if that feels better. The flexibility in your hips today. One more breath in. One more breath out. And take your right leg, you're going to draw it back in. You're going to extend your left leg all the way out again. This time it can be soft. Maybe it's even bent. You don't have to worry about getting it all the way out there. We're going to come into a little twist, taking your right thigh and guiding it across the body. I like to rest my foot on the other leg. It helps so that I don't feel like I have to cram anything around the hips too much. Take your right arm and open it out to the right side. If you're feeling tender, leave the arm a little bit lower. It'll be less intense. If you want more space, try to bring that arm more across from the shoulder. Feeling your belly soften when you exhale. One more breath in. One more breath out. Draw yourself back to the center. You're just going to take your right knee, hold onto your belly so it stays mostly stable. Just open your right knee out to the right side and draw the right leg back in and exchange your legs. You'll draw the left leg in and extend the right leg out. And then you'll take the left leg across the body, maybe letting the foot rest on your other leg. You can always take the foot down to the floor. You don't have to do it exactly as I do, but I find that that's a little bit just softer in my body. And holding your right fingertips on your left thigh, let your left arm open up in a way that feels good across your chest and the front of your shoulder. Letting the belly soften. One more breath in. One more breath out. And drawing that left leg back to the center, you're going to keep opening it up. I like to put the right hand on the belly just to try to keep this space mostly stable. It's not an exact science, just mostly as you open the left leg out to the left side, finish your exhale, and then draw the leg back in. And take your right leg and draw it in, and then send the left leg out. Kind of going in between a little bit. I'm sneaking a little bit of core work in. Haha, you're welcome. This time, your left leg could be very bent if that feels better to you, to tuck that right knee in. Maybe you hold behind your leg. You could have the left leg straight. It's up to you. But I'm going to focus now more on trying to draw this right thigh in towards your belly. Might even wiggle it around a little bit side to side, creating some space. And then for most of us, it's going to be really beneficial to give ourselves the extra room to put the left foot down on the floor. And then you're going to take your left hand and try to massage your toes. If you are able to get your fingertips in between your toes, good luck. It will really give them a little bit more space in between those toe bones. It's a little bit more work, but if you need to do this little piggy went to market, then of course that's perfectly acceptable. Anything you do to move these toe bones around, and we're getting really deep into the hip at this point, so good luck. Give yourself another exhale, see what you can soften. Unwind your fingers from your toes. Take the left leg in and let that right leg drop out in whatever capacity feels good to you. It could be bent in, it could be all the way out. You might move the left thigh bone around a little bit. You just might find a good spot to pull it in and experience that stretch. Finding your breath. Not worrying about contorting the body, but more about what is the body feeling where you're at. One more exhale. You might have to slide that right foot in a little bit closer so you can take your right hand in either this little piggy, each one of your toes, or send the fingertips in between the toes, getting some space between the toe bones and a little bit more intense work. Take another breath in, deep breath out. Releasing your fingers from your toes. You're going to take the right leg in and open the knees out, taking happy baby. Both legs are in, feet are up as if they're planted on the ceiling, maybe giving a little rock side to side. One more full round of breath. Releasing your feet. Go ahead and stretch yourself out, reaching the arms overhead and the toes forward. Again, releasing the front of the pelvis. Take a big breath in and exhale, let everything go. Go ahead and roll yourself over onto your belly. If you need to switch the way you're facing on your mat, by all means, make that shift. If you're able to come down to laying on your belly, you'll make a pillow for your head with your hands, rest your forehead or a cheek down. Always wiggle the hips about a little bit side to side, creating any space there. And just settle in, feeling, if you can, the breath moving a little bit differently, the pressure of your belly on the earth and the movement of the breath maybe more in the back of the rib cage here. And you're going to take your left arm out to your left side with the palm facing down. You could bend the arm like a cactus shape, or you could extend the arm out a little bit more. If you have it above the shoulder, it'll feel a little bit less intense. And then you're going to look over to your right, put the right hand under your right shoulder, and roll the right leg back behind you so that you start to get a stretch across the front of your left shoulder. Now, bring your awareness to the space between your left ear and your left shoulder and see what you can do to soften that space. One more round of breath. And then rolling over onto your belly, sliding the right arm out and the left hand in. Look over to the left, rest your head, reach that left leg back. Trying to soften the space in between your right ear and your right shoulder. One more breath in. Deep breath out. And then rolling over onto your belly, taking your hands, reaching them back behind you. You can hold hands if you really want to, but see what you can do about opening your arms out on their own and lifting up into Shalabhasana, feeling a big stretch across the chest. We just did a good stretch to hopefully open you up for this, so see how that feels. You don't have to lift up high. Can you really reach your heart forward? One more breath in. And then soften down. I'm going to start to press down into your hands, pushing the hips back, finding either puppy dog pose with the hips up above your knees, or dropping your hips maybe back a little bit further, coming towards child's pose, or being somewhere in between, just depending on what feels good in your body. And if you can, come up on the fingertips here so that you can roll your elbow points down towards the floor. Doing a little bit more open space behind the heart as you roll those elbow points down, resting your forehead. One more round of breath. And relax your hands. We're going to look up, come up in a table pose. We'll have the fingertips pointing forward. Make sure that your index finger, or maybe the space in between your index finger and your middle finger, point forward so that you can bend your elbows a tiny bit and wrap the elbow points back towards your thighs. You feel strong and open across the back of the heart. Now push down into your hands, feeling that power start to build up behind your heart. I'm going to come into a brief down dog. I was going to say a short down dog, but just short in time. And then we'll move up to standing. So if you want to stay off of the wrist, you can work your way on up to standing as you please. You want to come into our brief down dog. Curl the toes under, coming up, lifting the hips, relaxing your heels, relaxing the head, trying to keep the elbows pointed towards your toes if that's still where your practice is today. One more exhale. And then walking your feet to your hands and your hands to your feet and taking your time coming up to standing. Wiggle things out a little bit perhaps. And then we're going to come into our halfway fold. So not quite all the way down. I'm going to think of a halfway fold or a halfway lift as something that's coming from the heart. So if you think of it as halfway lifted, it's the heart lifting up. So the tailbone stretches back and the heart goes forward. You might try to feel a little bit more softness in between the ears and the shoulders. And you might be up here with your hands on your knees. You could have your hands down further if that's the amount of space that you have today. Sometimes hands on the floor, not necessary. What we want to think about is the heart lifting up more so than where exactly the hands are. Give yourself another breath in. And now fold down in softness. So don't worry about how far you get down. How soft and relaxed could you get? So even if you could reach down further with your hands, maybe you don't. Maybe you just leave them up here and say, oh, what can I soften? What doesn't need to be tense? Finish your exhale. And then start to come back up to standing. Take your time getting there. We spent a bit of time in a fold. And checking out just the spacing of your feet real quick, since we didn't really touch in on that a moment ago. Just having feet about hip width apart and the toes facing forward. We'll take a nice slow flow through our half sun salutation 3 times. Try to slow down your breath as much as you're able to, but if you need to take multiple breaths or not totally match my pace, by all means, do that. Let's inhale and reach the arms up, feeling the fingertips stretch to the sky. And then exhale, find that soft fold. So more than anything, it's relaxing ideally. And as you inhale, come halfway up, roll the shoulders back, send your heart forward. And exhale, soften again. So that's our fold, to soften. And inhale, stand all the way up. When you get up, reach those arms up, stretch as long as you can. Exhale, hands to the heart. Arms reach up again, inhale. Stretch long. Exhale, fold forward. And notice I bend the knees because I'm really trying to relax the back of the body. And then inhale, lift that heart up. Feel your tailbone stretch back. Exhale, fold, soften, relax. Inhale, all the way up. Reach the fingertips up, stretch long. Hands to the heart, exhale. Last time through. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale, soften, fold. Inhale, halfway up, heart goes forward. Exhale, soften and fold again. Inhale, coming all the way up, reaching your arms up. And then hands back down to your heart. We're going to bring the feet in closer together this time. They don't have to be exactly touching. A little bit of space sometimes feels better, but if you go for the feet being together to touch, it might be like a slightly easier place, like a physical cue for the body to find. We're going to sit back in a chair pose. It doesn't have to be your deepest chair pose because we're going to do a lot of them. Yay! Reach your arms out. They can be wide if that's better in your shoulders. Just feel your hips resting back. Allow yourself to soften with your exhale. And then inhale, stand all the way up and reach those fingertips up just as much as you did. And hands back at your heart. So we're going to start in Warrior One, right foot forward, left foot back. You want to bend in your right leg, right knee and toe face forward. The back foot is up slightly and a little bit of space between your legs. Go ahead and reach your arms up. Try to relax your shoulders. Just tune into this Warrior One, this familiar shape, but never the same pose twice. Always something to be found here. Take another breath in. And then go ahead and lean forward a little bit. Bring your hands to your heart. It's a little bit easier to travel with the hands in close to your body. And you can take many steps to get up here. You might even give yourself a little, kind of like a cheat hop right now. It's not cheating, it's giving yourself what you need. We're going to come into chair pose. Go ahead and bring that left foot up right next to your right. Relax with your exhale, sit the hips back. Inhale, reach the arms up, straighten your legs. And exhale, bring those hands back down. And then we'll go to the other side. So left foot forward, right foot back, finding warrior one. Right toes forward a little bit, left toes and knee forward all the way. And then reach your arms up. Can you push into both feet evenly? Can you let your heart open and your jaw muscles unclench? Kind of observing the body in this position. One more breath in. Exhale, hands down, lean forward a little bit. So you're already bringing your body towards chair pose, and it doesn't need to be the perfect graceful transition. It's fine if you wiggle around a little bit. Let's step that right foot up next to the left. Give yourself an exhale. Inhale, straighten the legs, lift up. And exhale, hands back down. And we'll go once more each side, right foot forward, left foot back. Left toes in slightly, right leg is bent facing forward. Inhale, reach the arms up. Keep the arms up, exhale, relax your shoulders. Push down into your feet, feeling the power there. And exhale, relax the back of your neck. One more breath in. Exhale, lean forward, hands come to the heart, and step your left foot up to meet your right. When you find your little chair pose, relax your hips back. And then inhale, reach the arms all the way up, straighten your legs. Exhale, hands back down. Last time, last side. Left foot forward, right foot back, step yourself into it. Take your time to set yourself up and reach those arms up. Again, feeling long and tall in the inhale, softening your shoulders as you exhale. Strong in the feet, standing on both of them, inhale. Exhale, relax, tension around your head. One more breath in. And then hands to the heart, leaning forward, preparing to step forward into chair pose. Once you find it, let out any breath you might have been holding. Happens to all of us. And then stand all the way up, reach your arms up. And exhale, hands at the heart. We're going to step the feet out wide here. Take some stretch. Turn your right toes all the way over and your left toes in. We're going to come into warrior two. Let's just set up that positioning of our legs, checking out the front thighs, facing in the direction of the toes, and then coming down into side angle, reaching that left arm up and over your nose, finding that stretch where the side of the shoulder blade is reaching out. Maybe you're pushing down into that left foot to get stretch across the left hip. I love the sun comes out every time I turn a light on in here. One more exhale. And then reach yourself all the way back up. We're going to straighten the front leg and come forward into triangle pose. Get that good shift in your hips. Bring your left hand down or right hand down as far as it'll go. You can take the arm up or you can leave your hand at your hip trying to relax this outer hip. Maybe giving yourself a little bit more of a cue or some space to really get a deep stretch in this hamstring. One more breath in. One more breath out. Drawing the belly in and coming all the way back up. And then we'll switch the feet, shifting over towards the other side, finding warrior two, just as a little bit of a visit to find that placement in the body. So those back toes are up slightly and a strong bend in the leg. The hip is right underneath my torso, not shifting off to the side. And then coming forward, resting down on the left elbow and taking the right arm up and over, reaching from the shoulder blade out through those fingertips, from the hip down into the foot on the right side. What can you do to release tension behind your ears and behind your neck? One more exhale. Lift with your belly, come all the way up, straighten the leg. And then give that shift in your hips as you tilt that right hip up and over slightly, coming into triangle pose. Arm up is always an option, but you might just leave your hand down so you can give yourself a little bit more connectedness, maybe a little bit more freedom to work in the pelvis. One more breath out. Start to lift yourself all the way back up. I'm going to bring the toes to face forward and then come down into a forward fold. Fingertips might go to the shins. They might go all the way down to the ground. Maybe you take your hands and reach for your ankles if you're all the way down there, which can be a bit of a challenge to your balance. So acknowledge that. If that's not where you should be today, then your body's going to let you know. You just find another option. Find a place that you can breathe. Try to relax the back just like you were doing in the fold with your feet closer together back when we were doing those half sun salutations. One more breath out. And a little bend in the knees, hands come up towards the hips. Take your time coming up to standing and then bring the feet back in towards each other. Okay. We're going to come into the half moon play that I mentioned earlier. If you've got a couch around, you can use the bottom of your couch. I've got stereo speakers, anything like that. Maybe you have a chair around or your coffee table. Whatever seems like a good idea. You can also use a block, knowing that that's going to be more of a challenge into your hamstrings so you can decide what seems like the right thing for you when you get there. I'm going to come to stand up. I've got my item that I might be holding on to is going to be about a clown shoe away from my foot, so a little bit bigger than what my shoe would be. So that could be anything it is that you're going to be bringing your hand down to. So my standing leg is going to point towards my object. My other foot's going to point out, and then you're going to try to come down. So hand on your object, leg is lifted. Might even just leave your hand on your hip so you feel a little bit more connected. You might be here for a long time. You might be trying over and over again to get up. You might just find one steady breath in and out. And then coming down. Of course, the higher up the hand is, the easier that's going to be. So if you're like, I don't know, the other leg's really tight, I'm going to go walk over to the couch. Just go ahead and do that. It's not about perfection. It's about experimentation and presence and what we're doing. I'm just going to shift around so I can face you. So I've got this bit of distance. My toes face that way. The lifted leg's going to face out the other way. And you can have your arm up. Well, it's harder to do that. If you have your hand at the hip, get a little bit more connectivity in your body. Maybe you can open that top shoulder a little bit easier with the hand down at your hip. Try to breathe, even if it's just one breath that you get in a hold. And then come on up. Give yourself a moment just to reacclimate to being vertical. And our second standing balance today is going to be vertical, maybe a little bit easier first. You can use your block. Maybe you put one foot on the inside of the block and then one foot up on the block to have that knee lifted up and turned out. You might not do that. You might just leave it at the calf or have that block set up lower. Maybe you don't have a block and you just leave your toes down on the floor. Find something for your body, your shape today. Maybe you start with the hands at the heart. You feel inclined to grow your branches outward. Maybe up to the sky you can. Lifting out of that supporting hip, lengthening that knee out of the hip socket. And you've got one more breath in. And then float the hand and your foot down. Give yourself a wiggle just in case sticky stuff has come up in the hips. And the other foot will come into tree pose on the floor or up or on the block. Just as long as it's not pressing into your knee. You might start with hands at heart. Find something to look at that's not moving. You might stay here. The arms, the branches might grow outwards or grow to the sky. Still breathing in this tree pose. One more breath in. And then resting the hands down, the foot down, and wiggling things out a little bit. We're going to come into a downward dog. On our way down to seated, so if you know you're not going to down dog, then you can just come right out to seated and then move, walk out of the way. And then come up towards the front of your mat space. Give yourself a really big breath and lift yourself up. Feel all that length in your spine. And then fold forward, softening that spine. Go ahead and drop your body in towards your thighs. Relax your head. Inhaling, coming halfway up so we feel the heart going forward. That's our main motion here. And then bend into the knees enough that you can take the hands down, step yourself back in a downward dog. It might even be a short downward dog, although it will be brief. Can you get the elbows to point at your legs? Can you get the heels to relax and your head to soften? And then resting your knees down. And then your bum down and then swinging the legs out in front of you. Let's do a little effort in a staff pose here. Focusing first on the legs. So you lift your toes up, maybe feeling the thigh muscles lifting up towards your hips. You can keep your arms down with your fingertips down, which will be a little bit less pressure in your wrist. If you feel good about it though, maybe you put the palms flat down. And you want to get the arms straight first. So for some of us, you might have to put the hands back, and some of us, you might have to put the hands forward, and then like do a little patty cake on the floor to find where your hands should be. Open your collarbones, legs are active, backs of the ears lift up, fronts of the rib cage soften in. Whether or not you're pushing hard into your hands, you've got all of these other things as turned on as you can. One more breath in. Relax, exhale. What we're going to do next is try to hold on to our feet, which could be a long ways away, which means that sometimes bending into the knees to bring the feet closer is exactly what we're going to want to do. So you can bring your fingertips to your toes. You might just be comfortable with the ankles because this is mostly the foot. If you want to, you can take your peace fingers and bring them together. Maybe you wrap those around your toes. So you can have the legs as bent as you want to, or maybe they're not so bent. And then you're going to draw yourself into a soft fold, not a pushing it, unable to breathe and frustrated at your hamstring flexibility fold. Come into a soft fold, a turning inwards, a releasing of the back, constantly thinking about a wider, softer lower back. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then releasing whatever you've been holding on to. And then bend into the knees so that the feet are planted down. Take your hands back behind you. Could be on fingertips or palms planted down. Try to wrap your elbows to face behind you. And then lift the heart upwards like it's going to get closer towards your knees. Take another breath like this. Relax, exhale. Now you can do that again. Or you can push so strong into your hands and into your feet that your hips lift up in line with your knees and your shoulders, but your elbows still try to point back. Your heart moves upwards like it's going to get up above your knees or over to your knees. Maybe if your hips are still on the ground, take one more breath in. And then release your hips down. And take your hands, shake your fingers out a little bit, just making sure that there's still some blood and rest around the wrist. And then take your left leg out in front of you. You're just going to turn your right knee over towards the side, and you're going to come out into a fold. Now you might even bend your knee so that you can hold on to the foot again. You might not bend the knee. You might just not worry about how far you get towards your foot, because in the grand scheme of things, of course, it really doesn't matter. Finding that fold with softness, relaxing the thigh bone back. It might give you a little bit more room to fold forward. One more exhale. walking it back and starting to switch towards the other side. Sliding that left leg in and then coming out over your right leg. It might be a straight leg that you come really close towards. It might be a bent knee that you just kind of work with your breath. Be there with whatever it is. Not worrying about what it might have been before or what it might be in the future. Being with what is now. One more exhale. And starting to walk it back and unwind your legs. I'm going to take your right knee up, and this time you might leave the foot on the inside of the leg, or you might cross it over the leg. Bring your right arm in close. You're going to hug your left thigh. Lift your left toes. It'll help to inspire your spine to get a little more lifted. You could even bend a little bit that bottom leg if that's tight in your hamstrings. Open the chest, breathe in, exhale, soften the belly, maybe you twist more. Just 2 more breaths like that. Taller on the inhale, softer belly on the exhale. And release your twist. Unwind your right leg, draw the left leg in, keeping it over or crossing it over. Hugging the thigh, left arm in close behind you. Lift those right toes taller every time you breathe in, and then softer and squishier around the midsection every time you breathe out. One more breath. Releasing your twist, unhooking the leg. We'll slide both feet in close, knees off to the side, do a wiggle, maybe a manual adjustment in order to find those sits bones down as much as you can. And then rather than a super straight, stiff spine, just keep a long spine as you roll forward. Heart moving up above your feet. Finding again softness, lots of release around the lower back as much as you're able to find. Seeking softness in the lower back more so than we're seeking getting our nose down to our toes, because it's much, it's overrated in so many ways. One more breath out. And starting to lift yourself up. We're going to slide down onto our backs. When you get onto your back, try to bring your knees up. Lay your back resting down into the earth. And then take your legs up. You can hold behind your thighs to keep those legs up, and they don't have to be straight. They might be down. You might still be just dropping your feet down. But if you can, keep the legs up. If you can, reach your arms up as well. If this is too much, come back to holding onto your legs or bend into your knees more. If you can stay still, try to stay still, just kind of being in this floating in space inversion. If you need to wiggle the fingers and toes, it can make this a lot easier. You need to decide the intensity of your little inversion adventure today. Noticing the part of you that is weighted. Noticing what parts of you feel like they're just kind of floating away. One more breath in. And exhale, dropping the legs down, feet to the floor, arms down by your sides. We're going to come into bridge pose 3 times. The first one might be a little bit more of a warm up for you. Noticing all of those things that we always do, where we Align the feet up so that they're about hip width apart, knees face up and toes face forward. Snuggle the shoulders into your back. Push into the feet until your hips come up. Make sure all four corners of the feet are pressed down. You might get a little bit more snuggles of the shoulders underneath the heart this time. Holding hands is always an option that you don't have to take, but you could. One more breath in. And then soften those shoulders so that you're able to release your hips back down onto the mat. Stay here as you breathe in and out. And we'll go back up into bridge pose. Push into those feet, wiggle those arms underneath. Hold hands if you want to. Make sure you're pushing all corners of the feet. Inner thighs lift to the hips. Heart goes up to the nose. Breathe in. And then release. Shoulders and hips then all the way down to the ground. One more time, having gone up twice already, it might be a little bit warmer to go further. And if you're not, then you are where you are at. Let's push into the feet, lift up, hold hands if you like, wiggle the shoulders more if you would like. Strong feet, strong underbutt, open heart, open in the front of the hips. One more breath. And then soft shoulders, release hands. Gently rest the hips back down on the ground. Take a moment to let your heartbeat soften. Bringing your knees in towards your chest, giving a little rock side to side. I come into a twist and spend several breaths there, like a long time. Just knowing that you might want to contort yourself more than you can breathe into for a while. Start to roll your knees over towards the right. Notice any places where maybe you could make some adjustments in order to soften. Maybe pressing down more in the right arm so that you can open that left side. Maybe you slide that left leg a little bit more away from you, or both legs a little bit more away from you. And then find the heart rising with your breath in, and the belly softening with your breath out. Just continuing in this way, feeling the fullness, the filling up, and the softening out. Fullness, that's the word. Like this. Staying here for about 3 more breaths. Nice, long, slow breaths. And start to roll yourself back to the center and make your transition over towards the other side. Finding a place that feels like you could be here for a couple of breaths, a good couple of breaths. You might need some little adjustments. Maybe push into the back of your left arm to release the right arm more. Feeling the fullness in your heart as you breathe in and the softness in your belly as you breathe out. About 3 more breaths. Seeing what you can let go of. When you're ready, coming back to the center, setting the soles of your feet down on the mat, sliding your arms in by your sides.
And resting here with the legs bent or coming into a seated meditation. Maybe your legs extend out. You can take a moment to set yourself up. Maybe you grab a pillow for underneath your thighs or wiggle the shoulders underneath your heart. Finding a place where it is comfortable for you to rest. To allow yourself this softness and turning inwards. Making space for all that is to come, all that is new, all that is unfolding. Rest very well. As you start to come back into your body, recalling that that first sutra applies even now, even after a practice. The practice of yoga begins now. It begins at every moment we find ourselves in. You might reflect upon the intention that you set at the beginning of practice. Whether you've remembered it at all the whole time you were here, it's okay. Maybe it's something you can take with you through the rest of the day or into the next time that you come onto your mat, or just to a quick breathing practice. When you're ready, rolling yourself over to one side in gratitude for the opportunity to practice together, even across this expanse of time and place that we find ourselves in. And then working your way up to your own version of a comfortable seat. Hands at your heart lifting and opening. Sealing our practice, we release and Om together, a big breath in. Bowing down to the love and light that resides within each of our hearts. Namaste. Thanks very much. Have really good days, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, April.
Thanks.
It was
Judy.
wonderful. That was sort of my favorite.
Yeah. Thank
That's-
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Have a good week.
You too. Take care, everybody.
What the hell? Have a good year. Toodles.
Bye.
You take care.